Okay, so just about to start a detail series on this 2021 Tesla Model 3. So
thanks for stealing my 4 left days of my holiday. So cheers for that.
It's going to be
what I do when I've got nothing else better to do.
It's going to be action-packed. We've got some
Polish
terrible...
your car.
Yeah, we had some terrible weather here in New Zealand over the last few days, but for day one of the detail, it's I wouldn't say it's fined up, but at least for our decon wash today, we're not going to have some rain. So we basically got what have we got? We got 5 days ahead of us, don't we? No, we don't. We have 4.5 days ahead of us to tackle this car, and when I mean tackle, that's to go through a decon stage, paint correct, and then get some ceramic coating on here. Maybe we'll have some time left over to tackle the wheels and do some ceramic coating on them. They may wait till another weekend.
Yeah, so if we don't have enough time, leave the wheels, and we're going to leave the interior too.
Yeah, so the plan that we've got ahead of us here is we've given ourselves a day buffer. So we're going to get our decon done this afternoon, and we'll take you through that process. Tomorrow morning is going to be about taping and polishing, before we then move into Friday and Saturday, where we're going to have our ceramic coating and our topper, which hopefully gives us 1 day up our sleeve if anything goes wrong.
And the first step of this car is to put it into car wash mode.
Car wash mode. So let's put it in car wash mode and we'll get underway. So we'll jump in here, go into service, car wash mode, into car wash mode. That's going to turn all of our automatic locks off. It's going to turn our Sentry off and turn off the auto wipers as well, so they won't get in the way. So we'll jump out, get started. All right, so before we get underway, rinsing the car off and foaming it down, as per all details, we take the number plates off, because while no one may know what's under there, we like to know that it's all polished, all corrected, 100% of the car.
That's a snazzy little plate they put underneath there for the number plate to screw into. That's quite cool.
Yeah, it's quite nifty, isn't it? So you've got a couple of different, well no, you've only got the one mounting point on there, but I think it works quite well with a smaller plate. Debated a little bit whether I should have gone for the big plate on the back, but kind of grown used to the look.
You possibly could go big plate on the back.
We've got small on the front.
I definitely think that if you do have like some cars have got like a specific cutout for number plates.
You definitely want to go for the bigger one.
Then you want to fill that up. Yeah, but so I reckon like...
I don't know, the bigger plate here, what's it going to do? It's just covering more paint, isn't it? It's not covering any more plastic. No. So I think there's a debate either way. One of the other things that we are going to do, we'll leave these emblems on now, but I am going to order, there's some OEM badges that a company in the US make. These are just stuck on, so it's just a 3M tape under there. There's no pinholes or anything.
Well, that would be easy to take off.
Yeah, we'll leave those on for now. We will ceramic coat around them, because the issue with taking these emblems off and then ceramic coating is your 3M tape may not bond very well to the ceramic coating. Yeah, that's a smart idea. Plus, I haven't ordered them yet, and we know what shipping's like in these day and age, so we may be badgeless for a wee while too.
So even after a rinse here, you can see there's lots of road grime and a little bit of tar that's stuck on these rocker panels of the car here. So the whole idea of getting the decon process done is to remove as much of these contaminants as possible, so that you're not getting all this stuff stuck into your pads when you're polishing. So that's the aim of this step at the moment. So what we've got loaded up in our foam cannon here and also our wash bucket is this. So this is the Obsessed Garage Decontamination Soap, and we've got that loaded up 150 millilitres in our foam cannon here to 600 millilitres of water. And essentially the whole idea of this product is to strip anything that is on the surface of the paint, so that be wax, spray sealant, and we do have a coat of bead maker we put on here to tide us over a few weeks ago. So this should remove all of that, and when we get to our second rinse after foaming it down and washing it, we should find the water behaviour is way worse than what it is now with that layer of bead maker. Oh no. So that's not what you do. So that's a real key lesson right there, okay? So when you're changing your connections with your, you know, with your quick disconnects and stuff, whenever you're changing in and out tools or changing in and out your foam cannon and stuff like that, you really want to make sure that you're connected well. Yeah, because this attaches... I think you need to shoot it away from the car before you just blow that right through the back panel there. Great idea. I'll shoot it away, eh? Right, you're good to go now, man. Good to go. This stuff smells great as well. I know we've been on the hunt for a soap, but Yeah, the problem with this soap is that you don't want to be using this every day because it's going to just pull off everything you've got on.
Exactly. All the hard work that you do, you can strip it off every week.
But it has like a perfumey citrus smell.
It does. It's really nice.
Slick. It's super thick, which is good because you want it to dwell on the paint for a bit of time so that it sort of eats away at anything that you have on there.
On there, right? And you also want really thick foam as well if you're going to use this in the bucket with your clay or your synthetic clay. So keep foaming it down.
So just as always, you want to be washing the car from top down. So start on the roof, work yourself around the glass, and then continue on down to the panels from top down type motion. And the whole idea is you don't want to be picking up all the dirt and grime from the bottom of the car and putting it on the top. And then just like Glenn's done there, every sort of little bit of panel or so you want to flip the wash mitt over and do a little bit more washing, and then straight over to your bucket. And just usually what you do is before you drop it, before you get to the bucket, dip it in the rinse bucket, give it its first rinse, and then dip it in the wash bucket, which has actually got the soap in it, and go again. Okay, so I just really want to highlight and address this point again. The car is now effectively being washed with that Decon soap, but as you can see, there's still a bit of tar on these bottom rockers. There's also a little bit of tree sap, and there's also a few bugs on the front there. So although the car's effectively been washed and cleaned, we have been able to remove some of that road grime, but now we've got tar and bugs, and so we are going to address the tar using CarPro TarX. And we're going to address the other bits of contaminants that are on here, like the bugs and a little bit of tree sap and stuff, using the Autoscrub here. And we're also going to use Nanoskin Autoscrub Glide. So we're going to get into that process now. Actually, I'll just show you the bugs at the front here. This is the type of thing I'm talking about. So I'm not sure if you can see, but there are a few bugs just in here. And so hopefully these will also come off with that Nanoskin Autoscrub. Bearing in mind that using the Nanoskin Autoscrub is going to introduce a little bit of scratching and marring of the surface. So you only want to be doing this process if you're really going to spend the next sort of day or so correcting out this paint. So just bear that in mind when doing this. This is actually a really good point here that see how lots of finger trigger going on there with the bottle of CarPro TarX here? It'd be super nice if we had like an IK foamer or an IK sprayer where you could just fill that up with TarX and just spray the whole car.
Yeah, I think you'd use that for your TarX and also your IronX, because you do get quite exhausted because you're trying to spray the whole car down. The other thing that's quite frustrating about this process as well is with a really fine atomization, if you're in any type of windy environment, it goes everywhere, so you have to spray closer, and therefore you're wasting more product as well.
So here we sprayed this bottom rocker here with that TarX, and as you can see, when that TarX starts to activate, you can see it sort of run off the tar, or run down the little spot where the tar is. You can see it sort of running down the paint. Now we're just going to agitate it with a microfiber, real light agitation.
Super light.
And you can see it coming off pretty easily. So if you continue all the way down that rocker, you'll be able to see all that tar gone.
Now I'm putting no pressure on this, it's just the weight of the towel. There's no downward pressure on it.
A couple of big spots there, we can probably hit that again.
And there. So we might need to hit it again with a little bit more product.
But that's cleaned it up really nicely. Again, you probably don't want to be scrubbing at this if you're not going to be polishing, but I guess a little bit of light pressure here is safe enough for us to do that.
All right, down to the worst stage of the decontamination, and that's because of the smell of this. So this is CarPro's IronX, so we'll spray this all over the paint. This should remove any iron contaminants that we have on the vehicle, and given the car has been transported from China, I believe these come from now, and it's been sitting on the Port of Auckland for about a month, I wouldn't expect there to be a lot on the surface of the paint, but we'll go through, spray it down, see if we have any embedded iron that comes out, because if we get rid of it now, it saves it getting clogged up in the pad later on down the process. And just like the rest of the decontamination, that's the whole idea. Take it out now to make the polishing a lot easier. IronX acts pretty quickly as well, so we should very rapidly see any purple runoff if we do have any iron.
And it's got that terrible sulphur smell to it, eh?
Oh, it's hideous, the smell of this.
And to be honest with you, all iron products smell the same, so you're not going to really get rid of that.
No, it doesn't matter which one you buy, it's going to be exactly the same result smell-wise.
And again, I bet you're loving, well, I bet you love the idea of maybe having an IK foamer or IK sprayer so that next time you're not getting sore fingers doing this.
Yeah, got to change up the wrist on this one here. It does get quite sore. Look, we do have a bit of iron in here actually.
So kind of like what TarX does is that when the TarX sort of eats away at the tar, you get the run down the paint. This is the same sort of thing as IronX. So as you can see there, as the IronX starts to eat away at the iron there, it sort of we get this reactivation sort of thing that turns it purple, and then you can see it running down the paint there. So you do have a couple of little spots here and here, which is actually quite interesting.
Yeah, there's quite a lot on this door. The great thing about IronX is we don't need to agitate it like what we did with TarX. So we can simply come along once this has had time to lift from the paint, the embedments there, we can just rinse it off. But it's surprising, there's a lot in there, especially the high part of the doors.
So there is a lot more iron on the paint than expected. Bearing in mind this colour is white, so it does bring it up a lot easier. You can sort of see the iron particles a lot easier here than sort of like you can on the blue WRX, but I'm actually very surprised at how much iron is actually on here. It is literally covered in it.
Look at these huge runoff on the back of the
Yeah, I haven't seen this much iron before. You know, in the last couple of cars that we did, there was definitely nothing like this. So you don't want this to dwell on the paint too long. You kind of want to leave it long enough so that it activates, you get a little bit of runoff down the paint, and then you definitely want to rinse this off. Don't let it bake on the paint.
No, we've got perfect conditions for this too today. It's reasonably cool, it's overcast, so we can leave it a bit longer, but a couple of minutes tops you want this off. So we're going to rinse it down now, and then our next step in the process will be the Nanoskin Autoscrub. Now this is the last part of the decontamination stage, so this is the Nanoskin Autoscrub using the Nanoskin Glide.
Yeah, Glide.
As a solution, so key here is making sure your pad's really wet. And essentially this is going to remove any contaminants, very similar to what clay would have done in the past. This is a synthetic reusable pad, which is really handy. This is probably the third or fourth detail we've used this on now. Key here again is you're going to add marring to the paint. So you don't want to do this unless you're following this up with a polish, and you want to be really gentle on your paint as well. You don't want to put too much pressure on it.
Bearing in mind that this product is super cheap, so a gallon of this, I don't know exactly how much a gallon is, but it's really cheap. It dilutes down to something ridiculous. Oh, no. So don't be afraid to use lots of it. You want to really make sure that that surface is lubed up with that auto scrub there, so just soak the surface down.
You can be as rough as you want on your glass, and if you've got a new pad, make sure you break it on the glass too, because there is a bit of a surface that's on these pads.
Yeah, when they sort of ship it out to you, there's a bit of a moulding, I think, sticks onto the back of that, it's like a little rubber surface there, so you just break it in, and that sort of removes that packaging moulding.
I think it's probably the least satisfying process if you're doing this on a brand new car, because you really don't notice any difference. But I think it's the most satisfying process or part of the decontamination if you're doing this on an older vehicle, because you can notice the difference by running your hand across the paint, where it's grabby with all the contaminants.
It sort of feels crunchy when you rub that Nanoskin over the top, and as it sort of runs over the contaminants, it sort of, I guess, scrapes it off. Well, it doesn't really scrape it off, but you kind of get what I mean, and it gives that impression that it's lumpy and crunchy. But you're not going to see this with a new vehicle because, well, there's not much on there.
No, and key as well, if you drop this pad, you need to wash it, which is the great thing about this, because with clay, you've got to throw it away. This, if you drop it, straight in the bucket, all sorted. Just do not use this if you haven't already rinsed your TarX off the car. Don't make that mistake.
That's what happened to me last time. So I thought there was a little bit of TarX at the bottom of the car, did on the WRX, and got a little bit of TarX, sprayed it on, got the Nanoskin, tried to scrape it off. What happens is the TarX eats the rubber off, destroys the pad, and so hence now I don't have a Nanoskin auto scrub, so that's why Glenn's doing the whole car by himself, because we've only got one between the two of us.
It's an expensive mistake. So we're all dry now. We're almost ready to pull the car back into the garage, where any remaining water spots can drip dry overnight, and that will set ourselves up really well for tomorrow, where we can come in and tape a dry vehicle.
So there's a couple of little things that we talked about throughout the process that I really want you to sort of understand, is that you want to spend the time using a decontamination soap to remove any road grime and to remove any sort of sealants and waxes that may be on the surface. You then want to spend a lot of time removing the tar, removing the iron, and also removing things like tree sap and harder things to get with your Nanoskin Autoscrub. Now, the reason for that is that when you're polishing, any little bits of contaminants like tar or iron can embed itself into the pad.
Yeah, so time saved now is going to save you a lot of stress when you're 5-6 hours into polishing.
Absolutely.
And getting frustrated.
Because, you know, you got that pad with a little bit of iron in there, well, that's just going to mar the surface. It's just going to scratch it, and it's just going to frustrate you. So I recommend that you spend the time to really make sure that that surface is well prepared, because this is the surface that you're going to be kind of locking in with the ceramic coating that we're going to use. You know, if you've got little bits of tar on there, well, then you're going to be locking in little bits of tar. So if you're happy with that, well, then don't remove any tar.
Exactly. But for a frame of reference, we probably spent 3 hours on the decon, all in.
Yeah. And I'm really happy. This surface is pretty good. It's pretty clean. There's no tar, we removed the iron, so I'm really happy to now move forward into setting us up for taping and doing some test spots ready for polishing. So I think we've got a nice surface to work from here.
So that is about it from today. We'll park this in the garage, come back to it in the morning, and we'll join you tomorrow where we start taping, start on our test spot, figure out what combo is going to work here, and then work through the polishing stage. We'll see you tomorrow.